Welcome back, everyone, to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast. And this time, it's going to be a 3v3, as you can see, on Ettelbrecht Station. So let's get this going. Alright, who are the players? The players are, I think the person who's in is Strucklen, playing as the Wehrmacht. His buddies are going to be Dersaw, playing as the OKW, and Cavalry 0722, also playing as the Wehrmacht. And also already picking with the German infantry. Hit the enemy team, we're going to have Tello, Mammut, and Dirty Diggs. So all three allies against three Germans, of whom two are Wehrmacht. So, okay, so that's kind of okay. Damn, why's my nose? Oh, okay, right. Sorry. Okay. So for some reason my nose just felt shut. That's because it kind of was. Anyway, now it's not. And yeah, Cavalry 0702 going for the north. Of course, center is being capped by the infantry sections, but of course Dersaw is pushing up with his Stern Pioneers. Stern Pioneers are going to just capture the big station. And with the control of that big station, they can help and wait for the MGs to come in. Strucklen going for two MGs, and I'm thinking that one of them is going to be sent up to, of course, the building up here. And actually some more Volksgrenadiers come through, of course, better at long range, so just put the guys into those windows and let them open up on the infantry sections, which so far it's working. I mean, these infantry sections are going to take some damage. Of course, the German troops are going to take damage as well, but less. So this is pretty good, of course. I would really like this guy to get out and not take this fight, because it's not really a fight he's gonna win, necessarily. So yeah, and more Volksgrenadiers coming up definitely means that the Germans are gonna have the control of the station. Of course, being the titular station of Ettelbrecht, it is relatively important. Positioned in a very good spot, it can control the southern VP, it can control the center VP, and it, of course, can control also some strategic points. So as long as this is in German hands, it's going to be a very, very nasty thorn in the side of the Allies. But the way to assault this, or rather to remove this German presence, is really not by assaulting it directly, like with these infantry sections and with these riflemen, like what we're seeing. What I would like these guys to do is to get out some mortars right now, especially Dirty Diggs, the American guy. The American mortar would be a very, very, very useful tool to deal with this kind of defensive position. Looks like the MG was positioned on the other building in the square, and so it's going to be able to fire at those American troops that were a little bit too far ahead. What I would still like to see is the MG pushing up and relieving these German OKW troops, because I think that the MG would be a better position there, although... Ooh, yeah, it's not in a good position here, though. Yeah, of course, another MG42 not having the best of times. Gonna have to escape. So, Cavalry 0722. Well, he was doing quite well so far, but yeah, looks like the flank from these conscripts from Mammut, he is gonna be forced to retreat. Of course, especially this MG42 is gonna have to escape. And yeah, this is not gonna look all that good for him. Looks like the MG42 is trying to take out these infantry sections, and it's doing well. Is it gonna wipe them out? Come on, just retreat. No retreat. Oh my god, it didn't manage to finish it off. That was very unfortunate. But still, doing quite fine. So the Germans have control over most of the sort of center line of the map, most of the middle part, and the south is being captured. They're planting down some mines as well, just to have extra defenses. The center is still under American and British hands, but this might change soon. We have a machine gun supported by a Soviet mortar. Two Soviet mortars, in fact, are going to support German troops up here in the north. But there really is a lack of indirect fire in the south for the Allies, whereas the Germans are getting out that... oh no, that was not a support gun, that was a Raketenwerfer. 490 manpower for Dersaw might, be better spent on support guns rather than just let it sit there. I feel like that would be a good idea for him. He's gonna get flanked by Pioneers. Of course, he managed to steal an MG42, which is pretty good. Pretty good, and if he can keep it, well, that's going to be just even better for him. Even better for him. Yeah, just the north is kind of a war of can the mortars really dig into those support weapons, although a swarm of Pioneers is moving in. And there's actually no counters for the swarm of Pioneers right now, so all these guys are going to have to escape just because of a few Pioneer squads, but that's fine, and that's all nice and dandy if they can come back and do some damage. Mortar Pit is up for Tello. So he's going to have that Mortar Pit that can really put the hurt down on Axis mortars, such as what Strucklin is going for. Strucklin going for 2 mortars right now. In fact, a third one is coming up. We're going to see how they're employed, and right now it would be good to... Oh my god, that Verkenwerfer is going to go down. Well, yeah, it would have been pretty good to support the Verkenwerfer. And unfortunately, it seems like that's going to get stolen because, yeah, all this allied infantry, no way the Germans can deal with it. In fact, yeah, just one Volksgrenadier squad can't really do anything about that. And, yeah, so that's very unfortunate. He could have tried to take the Volksgrenadiers and have them man the Verkenwerfer and try to escape. Might not have worked, but, yeah, now he needs to run away. Missed with the incendiary grenade. He's just getting massacred from all sides by superior riflemen. And yeah, so the allies are coming back into this, nicely using the smoke from the mortar by Strucklin just to capture the center VP. So that's doing quite well with his Pioneers. In the north, we have a bit of a push coming in from the allies, supported by their own mortars, whereas the Germans are supported by their own mortars. So it's really kind of a mortar war at this point. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see if the mortar war evolves into something else. Right now, it seems like the allies are on the initiative, and if they can keep that up, then that's going to be quite great for them, because, well, they need to stop the Germans before they get to their late game, of course. And even their doctrines, let's check them out. We are going to have Lend-Lease tactics, so strong mid-game with the EZ-8 Shermans, no, not the EZ-8, sorry, the M4C Shermans, and of course the half-track assault groups. Tello went for commandos, so kind of, again, a mid-game-ish kind of doctrine, and Dirty Diggs went for infantry, so a late-game one. So we're going to have the infantry company for the artillery later on, but is that going to be enough for the allies? Who knows? The Germans have Tiger Ace for Strucklin, fortifications, and the German infantry doctrine. So 2 late-game doctrines for the Germans. This could be pretty bad for our allied players. We're going to see if they can really push up this sort of temporary advantages they have right now. They're really doing that in the north. Very well done by Mammoth. He's just pushing up all his infantry, making sure that he's making Cavalry 0702 just kind of feel that he doesn't have any infantry units, because he really needed... Well, he doesn't have any Grenadiers because he didn't go tier 1, but he needed some kind of versatile infantry force. He never got it, and that's really being punished right now by Mammoth's conscripts. Just always pushing up, always getting some harassment in, always just pushing back that front line. This was well done. Right now, what the Soviets kind of need to learn to do is defend their own points, which is where these mortars, the machine guns, and of course the Dushka are going to come in. But we're going to see if this advantage can be transitioned into a late game superiority. We're going to see. Right now it hasn't been, but it can change. The American player and the British player right now in the center are just trying to play the mortar game, and it's not going well for them, as you can see. Well struck by that mortar, just taking out that rifleman squad. They need to be more aggressive. They can't sit here and waste 800 manpower on just a couple of 3-inch mortar emplacements. They need to start getting some infantry. They need to start getting a lot of units that can punch in, and you can't see this right now, but I'm punching my screen. You need to punch in and start to do some damage to the Germans before they can get to their late game. Speaking of their late game, well, Dersaw has the 3rd truck, and of course Strucklin, no phases upgraded yet, but they can be upgraded right now. 158 fuel, so he can go for that phase 3. He's got Panzer IV bulletins. I'm expecting a bit of a Panzer IV spam to prepare for the Tiger Ace out of him. And even without that, he's going for some stormtroopers which have managed to reach the center. Looks like some smoke raid operation is being used to help the enemy. Somehow that's really doing well for the Strucklin stormtroopers. Of course, we also have some British troops coming in from that, but the stormtroopers with the STGs, STGs and G43s. I don't really like that because, you know, the STGs are already 4, so there's no need to upgrade both of those, really. No need to upgrade both of those. And right now, yeah. We're gonna see. We're gonna see what's happened And of course, we have the infantry sections moving up, but that's not the best idea, and the stormtroopers reveal themselves. Now they can really do a lot of damage. Here comes the bundle grenade. Massive, actually no, that was the stun grenade. Massive damage and the stun. Right now, the flak half-track from Dersa is helping, and that's going to just cause the destruction of this Vickers machine gun, even though it is going to be able to escape, so that's pretty lucky for our allied players. In the south, Focus Grenadiers capturing the VP and forcing back the or no, that's actually the lieutenant, forcing back the lieutenant all the way where he came from, and leaving this MG to defend the southern approaches to the field point. In the north, we have the Germans also pushing it back up. Cavalry 07022 would really be doing well with an artillery field officer. Right now, this thing, only 240 manpower, he'd be getting not only a unit that can call in the smoke barrages and the mortar barrages and all of that, but also, of course, MP40 armed infantry. They're basically assault grenadiers, except one of the assault grenadier guys is an officer. So not as good as the assault grenadiers at close or medium ranges, but still relatively useful. And it's a very good utility unit especially. So it's not really just about the combat capabilities with a lot of units. It's also about what kind of utility they bring on the field, and the artillery officer is definitely one for utility. Right now, yeah, as you can see, the commandos being dropped in, but the commandos being dropped in like this is going to be not the best decision, because they're going to come down a hail of fire from both the mortars, machine guns, and of course the flak half-track as well. Right now, the flak half-track is going to be attacked by that Raketenwerfer, which has to escape due to all of the fire that's coming through from here, and that's going to be the end of that. However, even though the Axis are kind of getting themselves back up in the south, the north is still kind of allied town. As you can see, these conscript infantry squads are doing their own thing, and they're doing their own thing damn well. Right now, they're able to push up, and here comes a massive assault, which is gonna put down a bunch of recon for the allies. And here comes also the extra damage and extra speed on the infantry sections. Also moving up with the smoke raid operation. It's allowing them to push up against the machine gun, but they don't have any grenades upgraded, so this is really kind of not the best choice, because they can't deal with these machine gun emplacements. So right now, unfortunately, that amazing aggressive assault is going to be for nothing, and even that 150 munitions is also going to be spent for nothing. In fact, the German machine gun, or no, not the German machine gun, the British machine gun might even fall into the German hands. It's not gonna, but it could have. So this was a kind of a risky assault from the British that, because of the lack of Mills bombs, did not really end up paying off. So right now the British are at 200 fuel. They really need to use this fuel for something. They need to get some vehicles out on the field ASAP, otherwise the Germans are just going to be able to turtle back on the other side, or the far side rather, of the square, and mow them down as they approach. Just having the good turtling position is usually what the British do, but right now it is the Germans that are kind of, they're not really doing a SimCity, but they're really using that defensive advantage to their advantage. So the Axis are going to need to try to do something, not the Axis, the Allies are going to try to do something about that. And, well, part of what the Soviet player Mammoth is doing correctly, aka mortars supported by, you know, a balanced setup of infantry and support weapons. However, Mammoth is gonna need some vehicles soon. Of course, he is with Lend-Lease, so he might want to wait for the M4C Shermans. But at the same time, he wants to get out some vehicles as early as possible, just to prevent the Germans from having an advantage on that field. In fact, it looks like Dersa is going to go for the KT, so he's going to be a little bit late in getting any vehicles that aren't going to be the flak half-track. But the other German players, what could they be doing? I have no idea. We have Cavalry 0722 going for some, of course, fuel caches. So that's going to skyrocket the fuel income of the Germans a little bit higher than that of the Allies. And that's going to be great for them. However, they need to use this. There's no reason to really have fuel and fuel caches if you're not going to use that fuel. As you can see, Cavalry 07022 with 150 fuel, and Strucklin with 150 fuel as well. So Strucklin is going to wait for that Panzer IV, of course, but they really need to use that fuel a little bit better. Otherwise, that whole investment into the fuel caches is going to be worthless. Mortar half-track on the field for our good American player. Dirty Diggs is going to bring up that mortar half-track and try to do something, but it's very, very close. The big problem with the mortar half-track for the Americans... Sorry, I had to take a sip. Is that it's very short-ranged. So it's relatively vulnerable, because you're going to have to move relatively close to the battle. Of course, not as close as this guy did, but still. So it's pretty dangerous. And right now in the north, 2 commandos are going to use that smoke raid operation. Very, very useful, actually. Only 60 munitions, damn. I used to remember it being more expensive. So that's definitely doing its job. And it's going to prevent the Axis from using their defenses again too effectively. However, with no grenades, I mean, they do have the Mills bombs, or not the Mills bombs, the Gammon bombs on the commandos. Still, there's way too many machine guns. The Americans and the British cannot deal with this many machine guns except with mortars. They're going to need to get indirect fire superiority, and the captain is sort of side-teched from Dirty Digs. He's tech to captain as well. Could be an opportunity to get a support gun, a pack howitzer. So I feel like that would be a good decision for Dirty Digs. So that's what I would do. I would really try to press for both vehicles and artillery. Right now, Dersaw is going for a Stuka, which is interesting because he went for the third truck as well. So I guess he was just getting that just to not forget about it or something. Because I thought that the third truck meant that he was going for the third tier, you know, the Schwerpanzer headquarters. But it seems like he has another idea, and he's going for the Stuka. The Stuka is going to provide some very, very, very good capabilities at dealing with all of this, essentially. All this massive Allied presence in the rear lines. That's going to be quite good for the Axis. Of course, it all depends on kind of the RNG and how well the shots are actually aimed by the Stuka. So we're going to see about that. M4C Sherman and Panzer IV medium tank kind of slugging it out in the front lines. Panzer IV medium tank pushes up. However, this is kind of a bad idea because there's infantry with anti-tank grenades right over here. And anti-tank grenades, unfortunately, are not going to be thrown by those conscripts, and so the Panzer IV is free to just kind of chase through on the M4C Sherman. However, there is a massive anti-vehicle blob that's coming in these infantry sections. Right now, the Sherman, sorry, not the Sherman, the Panzer IV is trying to escape, and it will be able to because there's absolutely nothing that can stop it in the rear. So it's going to have a pretty clear line of escape. However, it still needs to be careful because here comes the smoke raid operations yet again, this time to conceal these British forces as they push up. And yeah, this might not be the best idea. Here comes a Piat round, of course, homing into that frontal armor, not doing the best of damage, but still, it's going to be enough to force this guy back and put him at least in need of repairs, put him back into the workshop. Of course, the Panzer IV in its first engagement got 11 kills already, so doing quite well, actually. And the Panzer IV is trying to defend these mortars. There's 4 mortars over here, but it's not going to be enough. Here comes the Stuka. Is it going to be aimed on all this British infantry? It might be. No, it was aimed on the mortars. It was aimed, no, not on the mortars, actually. It was aimed on the Werkenwerfer Plus, the M250 caliber machine gun team. Looks like it did kill something. Not really sure. This was definitely something else, but who knows. So right now, Mr. Dirty Digs is going to have to be very, very careful. Very, very careful about what's happening, especially with that Stuka. Looks like, however, another MG42 is going to be handed over to the Axis enemies, so the Allies. And that's not good. It's, in fact, even worse because it's right near a Horsa glider. This thing can reinforce all the units, as you can see, so it's a free picking right now for the Brits. They can just take that machine gun, also reman this other MG42 machine gun, and then be left with 3 MG42s, or rather 2 MG42s and a Vickers, so 3 machine guns. So that would be very, very terrible for the Axis to deal with. All right, let's speed it up a little bit. There's nothing really going on right now. Struckling going for those P4s. He's the only German with any tanks on the field by the 20-minute mark, almost. So that's right now actually what's letting the Germans kind of down. It's really slowing them down. It's really making sure that they don't have versatility, because without that armor, they're having trouble pushing through the Allied infantry. They're having trouble with the Allied support weapons in the rear, and overall it's also kind of handing over the Allies a little bit of an armor superiority. Of course, Tello could be just kind of twisting the knife in the wound right now, because there's 360 fuel that he's got. So he's really not spending that. And that's a big mistake, because imagine if he had a comet right now, which he could with all that fuel, that would be a very strong asset in the hands of the British. And it would allow them to push back these Panzer IVs a lot more cruelly and get into these mortars, force the Axis back into their base, and all of that. So the Germans are down to 300 points, but the Allies are basically also down to 356 points. So not really that much of a difference. And right now the Germans are really starting to get into that armor game quite severely. We have the Panther coming in. Panther, which is gonna, along with these two P4s, easily push back this M4C. And the Axis are also getting some artillery on the field, of course, from the fortifications doctrine by Dersa. So that's also going to be a very strong tool to deal with the sort of defensive emplacements and the SimCity that the Allies are constructing in the rear. Therefore, of course, has to be very wary about these anti-tank guns. Anti-tank guns, which did come a little bit late, but they at least did come, so that's good. Both Axis and Allies, in my opinion, are actually kind of low on anti-tank guns. They really need to get some extra anti-tank guns and all of that. Support gun going to destroy the fighting position, so finally that support gun is on the field for Dersa. That's quite good. That's quite good for him. It's going to provide him with some extra utility, and of course, along with the big howitzer, maybe he can get some damage done, especially on these mortar emplacements, which is what looks like he's going for, but not with the best of successes, unfortunately for him. So P4 is moving in, doing their own thing, and kind of harassing away. The Axis are, well, they've managed to secure one VP, the southern one, and they need to try to find over some way to capture the north, which shouldn't be all that bad, to be completely honest, or hard. They really need to get some units in there. That's what they need to do. They need to be more aggressive with their units. They need to be more proactive with what they've caught. And yeah, what's going to be pretty good about that is the fact that all of them are now heading into the late game. They're now heading into some... ooh, that Panzer IV is going to go down. They're all heading into the late game. They're all heading into vehicle territory. So even though this Panzer IV is going to go down, there's going to be yet more Panzers coming on the field. RIP. That's why you need to be very careful about tanks in streets. Not really much action going on right now, except this fight. Another smoke raid operation, which is actually going to kind of turn against the Allies as they're trying to set up this Vickers, and the Vickers is going to be having its line of sight blocked by the smoke, so that's not exactly the best. However, the British infantry can really easily push up and deal with those mortars anyway. Mortars which some of them are being just kind of left on the ground, and it's kind of a wasted opportunity for the Brits to not get any of these and run away. So big wasted opportunity right now for the Brits. They need to be making use of these a little bit more, because that would be not only giving them extra support weapons, it would be forcing the enemy to pay back the full price if they want that support weapon back, whereas normally they can just recruit it for relatively cheap. So yeah, needs to be more aggressive even in that regard. Struggling pushing along the center, definitely a bad idea. I mean, it was pretty obvious that there was going to be Raketwerfers and you know, similar units, anti-tank guns and all of that around there. But at least the double Panzer IV can wipe out that Panzer IV crew. However, there is a double AT gun squad, sort of both the anti-tank gun and the Su-85 tank destroyer. So that's pretty bad, and the Panzer IV has to escape as quickly as possible. Otherwise, it's going to take a beating. And at this point, if I were Struklen with 900, or rather 1,000 manpower, I would try to get an extra Stormtrooper squad and an anti-tank gun, because, oh, he does not have tier 2. Get tier 2. Get tier 2 and get an anti-tank gun, because right now you need some extra help against the Su-85 tank destroyer and against the M4C Sherman. Just Panzer IVs are going to start to struggle at this point in the game, and so you're going to need some extra bits and bobs as well, I would say, at least. Oh boy. P4. Yeah, P4 needs to really learn that he does not want to move into this central plaza. And it's gonna die. So that's kind of rip. And here comes the Stuka barrage though. What is it going to be aimed at? I don't even see where the Stuka is. I have actually just found it out right now, and it was a pretty decent barrage, however, not really the most kills. So up to 17 kills, doing okay. We're going to see if he can manage to get some extra kills from now on. And yeah, so now there's a priest up here from Dirty Digs. Interesting that he sent the priest up here in the north, because he's not in the north, so it's going to be a little bit harder for him to find suitable targets up here. And right now he's trying to fire. Trying to fire into the center area where there's a couple of Panzer Grenadiers, so that's a pretty decent decision. But remember, nice, wiping out an enemy squad. Remember that your allies' troops are gonna have to walk into there as well to get some points captured. As you can see, some friendly fire going down, not the best. And this Panzer IV is still burning, so lots of flammables inside that Panzer. But other than that, the allies once again managing to secure the center again, and right now the Tiger Ace is on the field for Strukland. Of course, he's trying to do that and play the trump card. Right now he needs to use that excellently though, because he lost his P4s. He's lost his P4s, so he's going to be without any support to the Tiger Ace except for his Stormtroopers. So he's going to need to be very careful about how he uses this thing, because it's not going to have that much support. It's going to be relatively easy to kill, and it's once again going to be a very, very massive investment. So the Tiger Ace is going to need to be very careful. Right now it's doing exactly what it does best, which is plaster infantry with 88mm main gun, and it's doing very, very well at that. As you can see, getting kills left and right. It's eating 85mm shots from the Su-85. However, it's kind of planking them. Not many of them are penetrating. 16 kills already for the Ace, and the Ace is doing God's work. And right now, along with 2 Panthers, actually, it's gonna push up. So I was wrong about the no support part. There could be allies. So thankfully, these players are playing as a team rather than a lot of 1v1s, and that's going to provide the Tiger Ace with enough support so that it can move up very, very aggressively, destroy the Su-85, and now it's basically got the priest in its sights. And despite the fact that the Tiger Ace is likely a Christian, it's not going to care, and he's going to slaughter that clergy member absolutely mercilessly. Well done. In the meantime, however, the Panthers are taking massive damage because there's no infantry support except 1 Panzerschreck squad. So not enough infantry support. Right now the Tiger Ace is taking a lot of damage from the side, from these anti-tank guns and M4C Shermans. So Panther going down, 2 Panthers going down, and the Tiger Ace also taking some massive punishment. Also, lots of bazooka fire gonna come through, and the Tiger Ace is dead. So that was a lot of German armor being completely destroyed. And that's only gonna allow the Germans to capture the center and the north, or rather the south and the north, for just a bit. The center, yeah, we have some Volksgrenadiers trying to push up, but it's not gonna be easy because there's machine guns, there's you know, mortars behind here, so there's a lot of things that can potentially thwart this push, and I think will thwart this push. So right now, the Axis sacrificing a lot of their most important units for basically next to no gain. That's pretty bad for them. And if the British player were to just get some armor right now, the armor superiority would be 100% in the favor of the Allies. Instead, though, because we have, of course, the infantry company player, Dirty Digs, who is going for priests. And we have him, Tello, not really going for any armor. That's kind of leaving the Soviet player alone in getting enemy, you know, getting armor to fight enemy infantry. So right now, this is really kind of a missed opportunity once again. The Allies could be getting there. Wait, is he stuck? Because that would be hilarious. That would be very funny. I'm not quite sure. Okay, no, he's not stuck. Still, like, the Allies could be getting such a huge superiority when it comes to armor, especially if Tello can get out. In fact, not even maybe Comets, maybe Churchills might be the best decision right now, because what they really need is ways to break through enemy infantry and defensive lines. Right now, the PaK-43, the flak emplacement, the support gun, the machine gun emplacements, there are cannon riffers, the Stern Pioneers with probably mines laid about. Yes, there are. Yeah, so this whole just OKW SimCity is really screaming, we need something to take care of it. And those 2 things would be artillery pieces, so priests and Katyushas, and of course, heavy tanks, so Churchills. So right now, that would be the best, I think, way to go about playing this game for the Allies. Because if they let the Germans continue to spam out panzers and all of that, well, even though the Tiger Ace is dead, we're going to see a King Tiger eventually. Even though the Panzer IVs are starting to get obsolete, there's no allied equivalent medium tank except one lone solitary M4C Sherman that isn't really going to have enough punching power to deal with many Panzer IVs, maybe supported by Panthers. So overall, yep, as you can see, I am proven right because I'm just so good. And yeah, that means that right now the Germans have the complete armor superiority despite the fact that they really shouldn't, because they've just lost their major armored force just 5 minutes ago. So this is actually pretty bad. And here comes a massive attempt at a crush. It's not going to work, unfortunately. The Panzer IV still is trying to get in essentially the blind spots of the Su-85. But the Su-85 actually has support in the form of these anti-tank guns. However, the Panzer IV can get behind it and finish it off. Unfortunately for him, he's going to face way too much AT in the rear. Still, the trade of a Panzer IV for a Su-85 is, I think, a pretty good one, especially because that's going to allow the Panther to push up and do some damage, especially this Priest is in trouble. This Mortar Pit is also in big trouble, so the Panther is going to also need to be careful about the anti-tank guns, but other than that, the Germans have complete sort of access to the northern flank of the Brits and allies in general. So right now, this is not looking good. Their AT guns are being destroyed by infantry. Their emplacements are being crushed. And right now, it seems like the whole flank is collapsing. There's a triple cap going for the Germans, so the allies are down to 240 points. That's going to mean 4 minutes to fix this, situation. Otherwise, they're going to lose. And right now, the Panther, as you can see, it's doing very, very well. We have a drop of some kind coming in. I think it was supposed to be... It's Syrian artillery? It's a light artillery barrage. It's not doing anything. And yeah, the Panther still died, of course, because of the anti-tank guns, but it did buy a lot of time for the Germans to move up, fortify these VPs, these positions, and now those are firmly under German hands. And with the triple cap going, the Germans only need to hold for another couple of minutes. Panzer IV from their side, barely avoids getting himself, barely avoids getting himself spotted by the VP. So that's pretty good. However, yeah, the Panzer IV doing its own thing. In the north, looks like that's going to be the main position where the Allies can advance. Smoke raid operation, or rather no, commando stealth covering the advance. However, there's more Panzer IVs coming in from Struckland, and mortars are making a number on this infantry force. So of course we have some nasty damage coming in. All of the commandos are dead. Almost all of the infantry section are dead. And yeah, even another Panzer IV coming in from the flank. There's absolutely nothing, as you can see, going on in the south. That means that the north is the only place where the Allies can really get any revenge and any VP control, especially. And that right now is not happening. It's allowing the Pioneers to move in and get some points under their control. Right now, in fact, I would say that the priority for Struckland, rather than moving up and dealing with these mortars and machine guns, would be to get the VP. Katyusha's on the field, but it's a little bit too late. And it's not going to get the best of barrages off anyway. So, unfortunately for our allied players, unfortunately, it looks like the Germans are just going to have the superiority when it comes to everything. The Allies really using their resources ineffectively at different points in the game. When they needed mortars, they got other things, especially machine guns and infantry. Then later, when they needed anti-tank guns, they got commandos. When they needed tanks, they got either nothing, in the case of Tello, who still got 678 fuel. That's a lot. They either got nothing or they got artillery. And then later on, when they needed tanks, okay, now they're getting more artillery. So that's kind of unfortunate. I would say that the best allied player was Mammoet. He was at least able to get some armor out, but really the deficiency in terms of armor was absolutely what caused the Allies' defeat in the end, because had they had more tanks, then they would have been able to really exploit those times when the Germans made mistakes and lost their armor. Because their big problem was that, okay, sure, they would destroy 1 or 2 German tanks, even maybe big ones like when they destroyed 2 Panthers and a Tiger. But then later, because they didn't have any armor of their own, then they pushed up and they met a machine gun or something. And at that point, they couldn't do anything anymore because, of course, oh look, all our infantry is going to be suppressed. And so now we cannot move up, and that's going to allow the Germans yet more time to fortify their points, yet more time to get new vehicles out to face you and actually attack. So really very defensive play from the Allies, just handing over the Germans the initiative and letting them win the game. So that's kind of unfortunate. And I think that's going to be basically the end. So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I'll just speed it up until the end. And at this point, as you can see, the Germans are just moving into the base. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you soon. And yeah, hope you have had a nice day. GG, well played.